Good evening, and welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for Candidates for Lake Stevens School Board. I'm your moderator, Karen Madsen, a member of the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County. As always, we've invited all candidates for the school board positions, and tonight we have with us District 4 candidate Nina Kim Hanson and District 5 candidate Vildan Kirby. Not participating tonight are District 5 candidate Carolyn Bennett and District 4 candidate Brett Rogers. The League thanks all the candidates for running for office, for your willingness to serve the community if elected, and for participating in this forum. It is the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we do not endorse or oppose candidates or parties. We do, however, take positions on issues which we've studied and upon which we've reached consensus. Ground rules for this forum were sent to all candidates ahead of time, but I'm going to briefly explain the question and answer period rules for the candidates and the audience. Opening and closing questions have been shared with the candidates. Other questions have not. However, we have made each candidate aware of the issue areas this forum plans to cover. And by the way, thank you to all the community members who sent us recommendations about those issue areas. I will pose the questions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. 90 seconds will be allowed for answers to the final question, and I'll be sure to remind you of that when we get to that one. We're using a countdown timer, which is visible to all the candidates. It shows elapsed time and alerts candidates when there are 15 seconds left and when time is up. Time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. When you see the timer turn red and hear the chime, you need to be finished speaking. I'll change the starting order for each question, rotating between you. Order was determined randomly before the forum, and on the first question, the first respondent will be Ms. Hanson, and then we'll alternate Ms. Kirby on the second and back and forth. So let's begin. Ms. Hanson, first question. What qualifications and experience make you a strong candidate for this position?
Hi, great question. So I have a background in education. I have a double BA from WSU and a PhD from University of Washington. I worked as a teacher for over 10 years in higher ed mainly, but in specializing in curriculum development, career development, professionalism. I worked as student affairs administrator as well as the founding director of an equity program at a local private college. And I work directly with high school students transitioning to college as well. I'm also a mom of 2 young kids, and I have had the experience of planning and teaching through the pandemic, curriculum from pre-K to about first grade, I'd say. But I'm also a first generation graduate, the first in my family to go into higher ed. And I'm from an immigrant family, and I'm bilingual as well. And so I highly value that skill, and I highly value education. I'm honest, I'm a good listener, I work hard, I'm a person of integrity, and I love our district.
Ms. Kirby.
I'm a big believer in public education, and I hold a strong conviction that public education is the most important foundation of our community. I grew up in a culture of help your neighbor, help your community, and I am committed to public involvement. My bio is a testament to this ideal. One example of this was when I volunteered with the first responders at Ground Zero on 9/11. I have been substitute teaching for our district since my kids started kindergarten here, which is 6 years ago. I am experienced in making decisions from $1 million budgets to managing a co-op preschool. I'm a strong believer in democracy. I'm grateful I have the privilege of devoting my time and energy for this position. I have the courage to stand up for my convictions, and I can accept will of the majority. I respect our district employees. And
thank you, Ms. Kirby. I appreciate it. You get to follow on with this next one. What are the biggest challenges, in your opinion, facing this school district, and what are its greatest strengths?
Well, we have a very good school district. We have a high school graduation rate of 91.2%. Our teacher and principal turnover is very low. Teachers are 100% certified with at least 3-year experience, and we rank in the top 20% out of 305 school districts in Washington State. Although we could use some improvements in our special education programs, we do have strong programs for individual education. The biggest challenge our district, or any district for that matter, facing is to keep our kids and our community safe. Our district did a great job quickly responding to the COVID Delta variant by starting up virtual learning for the elementary grades right away. Besides this, I see we need to balance school security with positive learning and improve curriculum and assessments.
Ms. Hanson?
As a parent myself, the issue of health and safety is a big challenge, I believe, for our district. We're in a pandemic. We want our kids and teachers safe. I think that's a real big priority for our parents, especially. Our district also has a large budget-related challenge in terms of how we're going to continue funding our programs, especially as our community is going to continue to exponentially grow here in Lake Stevens. I do think that there needs to be some improvement in the communication between all stakeholders, parents, teachers, admin, our district, and our board. I know that we have all been doing as best we can, but I do think that's still going to be a challenge that we can creatively navigate. But I do want to just echo something that Vildan said, is just our teachers are amazing. I think they're one of our strengths in our districts, in Lake Stevens. But as far as the expertise of the teachers, the staff, the administration, all the way to the board, I believe that is what helps make our district so strong.
Thank you. You referenced this earlier, Ms. Hanson. How can schools best address academic and mental health needs arising from the pandemic?
Yes, thank you for this question. Mental health is such a big journey to go on with our students. I do think that we need to continually resource our counseling resources at each of the schools. We need to continue employing fair assessments in both the counseling and academic pathways, resourcing our community partnerships. I believe that we can do some really, really good work if we can connect some of our community resources with our school resources as well. And we need to keep continuing to resource our teachers because they're really shouldering a lot of the responsibility as far as not just teaching, but also making sure that our kids are safe. So I would say those top things.
Ms. Kirby?
Balance between academics and students' emotional and social needs are a key. Of course, it's very important. Pressure to catch up on academics following school closures or virtual learning could add to students' stress and anxiety. While some schools already have robust mental health services and systems set up, ours would need to build upon more capacity on that. The current COVID relief recovery funding provides an opportunity to build and sustain comprehensive school mental health. Hopefully that will help us. Our district has been doing a good job by partnering with Snohomish County on this. If I'm elected, I can't wait to do more for our kids. And as this is very, very important for me.
Ms. Kirby, how are voters best convinced of the need for passage of bond and levy elections?
School district needs to work with cities of Lake Stevens and Marysville to make sure lands are appropriately zoned. This is what I was thinking. And this would allow us to build another school. And our schools are crowded. And we will need another bond and levy election. The best way to convince voters, this has been one of the best experiences of my campaign, has been to talking to people, knocking on doors and talking to them. I was privileged to see that, how happy they were that I was there to talk to them. And everyone was very appreciative. When and if we need a bond and levy election, this would be the best way to go. Knocking on doors, calling, or talking to people.
Ms. Hanson? Ms. Hanson, you'll need to unmute.
There we go. Okay, as for convincing our voters, I do believe, just like Vildan, I've been outdoor billing as well, and talking to our voters, they care a lot. And so I think philosophically and just theoretically speaking, I do think that our voters do want to help and do want to provide for our children. And as long as, we have children in our school district, whether voters have children or not, that's one of the biggest points that I've heard from voters. And I really want to just share that our students are really a reflection of our community, right? And so the more equipped and the more supported our students can feel by our community at large through those bond and levy elections, as appropriate, I believe voters will vote on those bonds and levies to support our district. Better education, better educated, really, for me, I believe it means better community outcomes.
Ms. Hanson, what would be your strategy for working productively with board colleagues and members of the public whose ideas are different from yours?
Absolutely. I love this question. Ever since I was 5 years old, I was translating for my own grandmother at every appointment possible. And I've learned the skills of civility and respect and bringing together people, despite the real polarizing and challenging a subject can be. So my strength really is bridge building, meeting people where they're at, finding the solutions for the betterment of all of us. And I deploy those practices at the board level. My colleagues will always know that I have respect and a space to listen to them and to grow together, honestly. And I will never, ever delegitimize anyone who disagrees with me. My goal is always to find a way to connect, to understand, to learn from one another, and always keep the goal of student and student learning at the forefront.
Ms. Kirby.
I am skilled at connecting with people whose ideas are different from mine. I am a big believer that you can find some kind of connection with almost anyone. If we each have a kid, we have a connection. If we each like a bread, we have a connection. That could be our connection. As far as connecting with other members of the board, we have a connection for the same goal. We are there for the good of the kids. And the most important ideal we should all have as public employees, if I'm elected, of course, is to listen to all ideas no matter what. It is also very important to focus on issues and not personal differences. There's no reason we can't help to minimize our differences. If everything else fails, I think we can all agree that sourdough bread is amazingly yummy, and I will bake one for you.
Ms. Kirby, how would you balance educational opportunities among schools and among students from different backgrounds? And in particular, how might schools begin to address the digital divide?
Well, thank you. Our school district start taking necessary steps to ensure both the classroom environment and curriculum are responsive to the increasing cultural diversity of our community. And it is getting more diverse. These will encourage all students' cultural awareness, enhancing each student's sense of identity, foster inclusion in the classroom. It's very important for teachers to maintain consistent communication. When we start practicing cultural sensitivity, incorporating diversity in the lesson plan, and acknowledging and respecting every student, they become more empathetic. They gain a better understanding of people. They become more open-minded and they learn better. As far as for the digital divide, our district has been doing a phenomenal job supplying every student with the technology they need and the hotspots for the families.
Ms. Hanson.
So I don't believe that a one-size model fits all right across the district, but I do believe that the learning goals and the goals for programmatic consistencies are actually doable, right, with regard to the balancing the educational opportunities. That said, to balance those, for example, if we think about our docent programs across the district, they're a little bit different with each school, or even STEM-based programs. I believe that they should be offered consistently across the district, and picking up the funding discrepancies where they are, I think is also really important to help that particular area. With the digital divide, access, I think, is a big one. And I do agree with Vildan. I think our district has done a really, really great job with providing for that access. But I also do believe that there are students still who have those challenges, whether it's socioeconomic challenges and so forth. So I do think that we can get a little bit more creative with our resourcing with regard to that.
Ms. Hanson, what are the issues that need to be addressed to provide racial equity in your schools?
Yes. Okay. So the first one is we need to take a hard look at our demographics. Even just looking at our teacher demographics, right? We have a 93% population of white Caucasian teachers versus the 0.4% of African American teachers or 0.8% in Hispanic. So we're seeing a real discrepancy in terms of our staff hiring. And I know we're improving in that, but I do think that we need to address that a little bit more. Um, I do believe that we can continue to expressly provide more systemic support, which I do think the district is doing it now. Again, just strengthening that for the diversity equity position that has just been created. A restorative accountability, I want to emphasize that real quick because students of color are disproportionately more affected with discipline issues at 21% of their population versus 1.7% of the white student population in our district. So we need to continue to address those racial parity and equity issues.
Ms. Kirby, your thoughts?
That's what I like to point at. Also, children of color still are being suspended disproportionately at a higher rate than their friends. Besides the trauma-informed teaching practices and culturally sensitive curriculum, I would love to push for our district to be adamant about using restorative practices, which are mandated by OSPE anyway. Research tells us when time is spent on positive behavioral sports and restorative practices, kids learn and develop better and behavior skills. We need to give our teachers all the tools they need to change their response to behavior so the behavior can change for the better. I'm very grateful our district hired the DEI director. I would also love to see our district have that cultural diversity in staff hirings. When kids see diversity in staff as well, they will relate better.
And Ms. Kirby, what criteria should be applied when determining curriculum content for each grade level and study area?
We should follow the leading, innovative, world-class criteria when determining content and study area in every level. Many schools are shifting to other methods and like project-based assessments. They are score-based on creativity and through-year testing. Districts are also partnering with community organizations and employers to give students more hands-on and real-world experiences. In one state, a district high school partnered with a Solar Future program to offer students solar industry knowledge and potential opportunities for credentials that will prepare them for workforce. And another state, they partner with the Wildlife Resources Agency. So these are all wonderful ideas. I would love to see this happening in our district.
Ms. Hanson?
Absolutely. Vildan pretty much answered the question for me. I'll just add on to that a little bit as far as just so at minimum, I want to emphasize that what the Washington State, the OSPI requirement, I believe, is just a sort of great starting place as well. And I think that our district can continue to use those criteria to be able to strengthen our curriculum. But I do also think that the best practices in terms of teaching conferences across the country, looking at those best practices, I think are also really important. A couple of them Vildan already mentioned. So I won't say much more than that, but yeah.
Thank you. And we're to our last question. Ms. Hanson, you'll lead off. And for this question, you'll have 90 seconds. You'll see the timers changed when it comes back up. And here is the last question. What additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of the community?
Yes, thank you for this question. I'm absolutely dedicated to the betterment of our education here at Lake Stevens. I have 2 children that are going to go through the entire tier of schools here, and the voters have my entire commitment if I'm elected. I'll not only be working to be a good listener at the board level, but also someone who is actively connecting with our parents and with our teachers in that support role, in that creative role. But I'm also very proactive. I am an achiever, if you all know what StrengthsFinder is. And I like to see realistic outcomes and practical steps continue to be taken by our district and to support our schools. I would also like our listeners to know that we have quite a few excellent resources here in Lake Stevens. Our district is known to be a good one. We just added to that. We mentioned this earlier at the administrative level. We have a new diversity and equity director, and our teachers and principals are the hardest working people that I've really ever met. And that said, I do believe we need to make some necessary policy related changes, just updating some of our dated materials so that the communication goes out to our parents and our community in a little better fashion. But I do believe that what we're doing is good, and we just need to continue to work together. And I just have a really good feeling that that'll work really well in the future.
Thank you. And Ms. Kirby, you have the last word.
I agree with, I am just going to add what Nina said. We actually moved to Lake Stevens because of the good school district. We do have an amazing school district. We have an amazing community. I am very grateful that I'm part of this community that I loved for the past 8 years. I am so grateful we chose to raise our boys here. Our boys started at school here, kindergarten and pre-K, and I want to do good for these kiddos. As I'm subbing every year, year after year, I want to keep these kiddos in different grades, and their mental health is so important to me. That is my main campaign, especially after going through 18 months of isolation and uncertainty, training our staff for suicide prevention, adapting trauma-informed teaching practices, which some of our teachers are already on this, by the way. Our district is on its way and would help and so much for preventing suicide among our youth. I would love to work with the board to come up with a plan to ensure our children's education is able to continue smoothly in the event of another emergency. How can we pivot so we don't have to scramble next time?
Thank you so very much. The League appreciates these candidates for joining us and for running for office. We appreciate the audience as well. Thank you for making time. A recording of this forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and our YouTube channel. You can find links to those recordings at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these candidates and all the candidates in the upcoming election. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet will be mailed to residences starting October 13th. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League of Women Voters, is another good source for nonpartisan voting information. Finally, general election ballots will be mailed October 14th. Election day is November 2nd. Please vote. This concludes our candidate forum. Thank you for joining us.